everyone, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Eorzea, the hour-long Final Fantasy XIV news and discussion show hosted by us. I'm Debbie, and joining me as always is the absolutely amazing Pyra. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. I'm the other half of us.
Yeah, like, I'm here. I am us.
It's me.
We are us.
We are us. Welcome.
I hope everyone is having a fantastic Monday so far. It's a little bit warmy here. How about you? Yeah?
It's been miserable. Don't let the sweater fool you. I'm in an air-conditioned house, but it's been like Sweat City in New England. It's been pretty terrible.
Yeah. We've got a bit of Final Fantasy XIV news we can talk about, so let's get right into it. The Immerse gameplay. Game pack. The sound thing. Do you know anything about this? I don't know anything about this. It's 20% off.
Immersive audio that's supposed to be more catered to the game? That's kind of the extent that I know. Yeah,
exactly.
I haven't tried it.
Exactly. Like, what is this? They've been touting it since Endwalker? I think Endwalker or Shadowbringers is when it came out. Never tried it. If you want to try it, they have a free 30-day trial and a 14-day trial if you've already had a free trial. So apparently they want people to try it.
It's pretty cool though, like if you had it before the new expansion and then you're like, oh, I wonder what it sounds like, I'll give it another shot and could be neat.
There you go. If you want more sound, check it out. The information is on the lodestone there. The Echoes of Vana'diel discount is back starting tomorrow until July 18th. So if you didn't get to try Final Fantasy XI the last time they had a discount on their subs, you can try again. I did sign up for the last time. I played for, a few days and then kind of left it again. Do you want to give it a try?
I don't know if I have the drive to be quite honest. Maybe I'll feel differently once we do some more of the Alliance Raid series. If I get the bug or if I get somebody if your friend peer pressure me, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah.
Go together. Yeah. Yeah. So if you missed out or if you want a bit of a discount on your sub again, that is going on until July 18th. Anime Expo begins on Thursday, July 3rd. They have a whole list of events. Like we could go on for 5 minutes talking about all of the outdoor events and indoor events and interviews and information they have. Any highlights you want to bring up on that?
I mean, they're probably going to do like a battle challenge. Like they've definitely done that with PAX East, PAX West, PAX Australia before. Usually you can get a bunch of free stuff. So if you're going to Anime Expo anyways, go by the booth. They're typically gonna give out some really cool free things. Also they're doing like an after party, which I think is all technically spoken for. But check out the Lodestone because they are doing like a community event. So a lot of cool things going out that way.
Oh yeah, okay. And new optional items available on the online store. These were previously released for, I think, Korea. And then now they're just available globally. If you want to chat about it a second, I'll pull it up here. I forgot to get this started.
No worries. So this one is I forget what the name is, which I'm also trying to pull it up because I totally forget the name. But it is essentially like the belt harness outfit, and then there's kind of like the beret with the gloves. I really enjoyed this when it first came out. It was like a really cool like belt. There just lots of belts, really. Just lots of belts. It's a pretty penny though. I can tell you that much. It's not cheap.
It's a 3-piece set. So it's the top, the pants, and the boots. Yes. But you can purchase the gloves and the hat separately.
Yep.
And it is $18 American for the 3 pieces, plus 6 more for the hat and the gloves. So this is a little steep, isn't it?
It's a little steep, especially if you want like the gloves and the hat as well. I mean, considering them separate, I also do wonder if Pyra aren't able to wear them. If they're just like separate because you guys can't have these.
But I mean, to charge that much extra, like a typical add-on item is about $3 normally, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
So it's a little bit pricey. It's belts. It's a lot
Lots of
belts. That's kind of this honestly looks like something we could have gotten through the expansion, but
yeah, it's got that streetwear vibe. Like it definitely has to me like kind of like a, I don't want to say tech wear, but like I feel like there are a lot of belts in tech wear. So like not quite tech wear, but like in that realm of things. Cool set. It's just definitely one of the higher price items I've seen in a while of that caliber.
Yeah. Is it cool? Yes. Would I buy it? No. I mean, unless I win the lottery. There'll be signs if I win the lottery, but in the meantime, that's unfortunately a pass. I gotta turn off this fan. It's making my nose itch. Online store and mod station maintenance tonight from midnight to 1 a.m. They bothered to tell us that, you know, character renaming and world transfer will be down for an hour. Not telling us why, but
I know it is kind of interesting. Just that portion, but I mean, better than them not saying anything, I guess.
Exactly, and that's kind of it for news. Upcoming, we still are waiting. Still are waiting on patch 7.3, which our next live letter should be in a couple of weeks because we are expecting it to launch the beginning of August. So
yeah, August 5th is the date everyone's expecting. I know they've only said early August.
Now, if it is August 5th, then we should, if we were getting a Moogle event, then it would start like July 5th. So we should be hearing within the next couple of days if they're planning to have a Moogle event before the patch.
I hope we hear about it. I'm still like a 50-50 toss-up just because of how recent the Occult Crescent has come out. But also, I feel like if you've been heavy into Occult Crescent, you've probably gotten everything you need. Unless you're still working on Fork Towers, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. Like a lot of people I play with in-game, they've kind of already like leveled everything and bought everything they want. Like, it's already done.
Yeah.
I am super casual. I'm not even close to being done. But a lot of players who have played it, you know, a decent amount are. Now, the good news is we have a lot more coming in 7.3. Like a lot. To the point where it's almost a little bit overwhelming to a casual player. But, I don't know.
Yeah. I feel that vibe as a I can't even call myself hardcore player. As an endgame player? If that makes any sense.
There you go. Yeah,
Somebody does all the things. Yeah, sometimes it's just kind of full-blown everything at once.
There you go. If you want more specific news, today's tip of the week is just a shout out to Icy Veins. If anyone doesn't go there, they do have a news section. I'll put a link in the description below, where you can get information like crafting and gathering prep for 7.3 or how to play Final Fantasy XIV mobile in English are a couple of their recent news articles. So definitely go check them out. I don't go there often enough, honestly. I know it's a thing, but I'm like, oh, Icy Veins is just like a raider site. But it's really not. They do have a rather big community that put a lot of work into their site and their articles and everything, which are all super new. So, yeah, go check it out. Do you go there often, or?
I honestly have never heard of it before. So
You've never heard of Icy Vein? Oh, okay, yeah. They do a lot more than just news. They help you with like rotations and with rating and that sort of thing. So yeah, but they also have news. So they're a good site to check out. That's icy-veins.com. Yeah, Icy Veins was the WoW Bible. That's kind of back when I first used it.
Gotcha. That makes sense. As a non-WoW player, my MMO experience is more just Final Fantasy.
Okay.
It makes sense that I haven't heard of them before. But I popped up the site now. It looks like they have a lot of really good stuff.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, apparently, I clicked on the article briefly. It is possible to play Final Fantasy XIV mobile in English, but it does mean tweaking some of the files. So if you're okay and comfortable doing that, it's possible. They do have English cutscene support built into the game, so you can switch the audio and cutscenes just to English without messing with any files or anything. Uh-oh. But yeah, have you seen any gameplay of mobile?
I haven't touched it yet, and part of the reason was I was like, I'm almost scared to get spoiled of it before it's available. Like for English, how about you? Have you started looking into it?
Well, not since I did that whole, like, what was it, 28 die channels or whatever. I can't even remember how many die channels. I've seen other players like Mr. Happy playing it, but I haven't like clicked on their videos and really watched a lot of gameplay. I think probably for the same reason that you haven't, and that's I don't want to know what I'm missing.
Yeah, it's the FOMO thing.
Exactly. It's good to know that it exists and people are enjoying it, but at the same time, Final Fantasy XIV base game needs some work. So, which will be our hot topic. We will talk about this today. Hot topic. So getting kind of into the hot topic here. Just like the thumbnail says, we're a year into Dawn Trail now. Let's start from the beginning. Dawn Trail on release had some criticism, not just from new players, not just from old players, not just from raiders, not just from people who enjoyed the story. Everyone had something to say about Dawn Trail. In the year since, has it gotten better or worse? And what do you think?
Oh God. It's certain things better, certain things worse. I think from my perception of just kind of like the community, I guess, it really got like hypercharged from like polarizing communities at the beginning. You had the people that hated Wooklamot for the wrong reasons. You had people that hated that the Warrior of Light wasn't the focal point of the story, really. And I think some of that like anger and hatred has calmed, especially with recent like post 7.0 patches. Like the story is starting to kind of get into more of an interesting route. The story is kind of like starting to make sense a little bit more. But I feel like when kind of one thing gets patched, like another thing surfaces. So like when, okay, well, we have no content for casual people. Well, now we have content for casual people, and this is great. However, there are flaws or there are issues, and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna fix those, but then here's a new thing, and that's having issues. And so it's kind of like a consistent, like, fix one thing, have another issue sometimes. That's kind of the vibe I've gotten from it, and the whole time it's just kind of been fine. That's also kind of like the vibe I've gotten. Like, this is fine.
It's fine. Listen, Dawn Trail has a lot going on. So the story, I believe, has gotten better. And that's probably because Wook Lamont doesn't appear in any of the patches, really. Other than to just, like, they even in the last patch, MSQ just had, like, a drawn picture of her with her thumb up or something to what we were doing, like, completely removed. But the game has some problems that we were hoping 7.0 would fix. And there has been radio silence on these things that older players who have been playing for a while, we're also old, have noticed about it that we haven't heard anything about. So there has been an article recently, within the last few days, that is some leaked information from the shareholders meeting that they had at Square Enix. And I'll pull this up. Hopefully. I cut it this time so that people could see it without having to deal with ads. Because those websites are terrible for ad. Oh, now you can see us in my snipping tool. That's perfect. There are concerns that Yoshida is juggling too many projects to focus on Final Fantasy XIV, while the past years have seen Creative Studio 3 also contribute to 16, Fantasian, and Final Fantasy Tactics. Says the work that Yoshida is doing in his other roles will end up benefiting Final Fantasy XIV in the end. His comments follow Yoshida's recent remarks during a live stream that quality of service has declined recently, with the need for additional hotfixes to flatten bugs increasing. Yoshida also dedicated a part of that stream to sharing what the Final Fantasy XIV team was doing to remedy frustrations with Occult Crescent and Cosmic Exploration. Taking a step back, it's all part of a bigger picture. Final Fantasy XIV's Dawn Trail expansion didn't dazzle everyone at launch, as complaints over story and class design grew louder. So, they said, as part of these comments, that they know that 14 is not in the best place right now, and they recognize that Yoshi is doing a lot of things that aren't 14. And a lot of people in the community are finding some degree of validation in this, because they're finally just saying what we feel they should have said from the very beginning. And this is something maybe Pyra and I were talking about right before stream, which was, it feels like back in the day, like 5, 6, 8 years ago, that Yoshi communicated constantly. There was always a letter from Yoshi coming out. There was always a, tidbit here and there, him apologizing, him explaining, him giving us a lot more information and telling us what was going on, telling us how he felt, what he wanted to fix and focus on. And it's been more or less silent for the past expansion and a half. And do you think the reason why is because he's spread too thin? Even though they say, oh, well, he's spread a little thin, but eventually all that experience in other games will benefit 14. How does that make a current player feel?
Oh God, I think there's like a two-part answer to that. Part one is, absolutely, I think he is spread way too thin. I mean, the man is juggling, like, just his primary job with Final Fantasy XIV being like the producer, director. That's not a light job. Like, that is not just like, yeah, I do this as like a part-time thing. Hee. Like, that's a big undertaking. And regardless of like how many years the franchise, like the game has been in business and in like has been active, it still needs direction. It still needs oversight. It still needs somebody to like make sure that certain beats are being met. And every time they say, oh, he's going to be part of this game, oh, he's going to be doing this, oh, he's going to be doing this, it's like he needs time to see his spouse here and there and maybe eat, be let out of the basement. It does definitely feel like he's being spread too thin, and to counter that, or to kind of put with that too, the whole talk about like, oh well, his experience with other things is gonna like help the game. Like, I do understand in one sense that like sometimes you need to like, in order to keep like the creative juices going, you need to step away or like take a break or try something different to kind of like keep everything fresh and new. However, like I feel like we've just seen way less and less and less of him, and it's like, is the true answer for him to kind of get this like revitalized look at gaming, or is it to make an extra few dollars because there's so much pressure on him to make the next big thing as well as keeping this big thing alive?
Right. And for 14 I believe has been so dependent on the goodwill that Yoshi himself fostered with the community back in the day, that to Toy Christopher's point, they haven't even appointed anyone else to step in his stead. Like, even if at the very beginning when Yoshi had to go to work on 16, he's like, hey, I'm going to be stepping away a little bit, but here's my good friend Foxconn, and he's going to be giving you all the updates, and he's going to be my voice throughout all of this. Just anyone else there could have been able to pick up that mantle. And anytime there was dissonance in the community, like there has been since the very beginning, they could at least make a statement and address it. Instead, in the absence of any sort of communication from the dev team, people have just been like repeating and becoming increasingly more frustrated with the issues that they have that aren't seeming to be addressed.
Yeah, and I think to Sambo's point, like, where's Koji? Like, that's the three major figures we see. I mean, 4 if you count like Soken. It's like we know Yoshi, we know Foxconn, we know Koji, and we know Soken. Like, those are the main 4, and there's some other like recurring folks that we see from the dev team. But it's like they kind of also need to get like somebody in now that the community can trust, because I think that's like such a huge thing as well, is not just hearing it from a person, but also like when you hear it from Yoshi P, one of the biggest things besides his status of like how high he sits in the game, one of the reasons why it's so comforting hearing him say these things is it's because he's been with the community for this long. He's been a part of the journey with us, and so it's, even like if even Soken, who has nothing to do with the main part of the game, but is just like in the music, if he's saying these things, like, you're gonna trust him because you feel like you know him. It's this parasocial kind of like, you feel like he gets it and he's part of it. And so it's like they really need to get somebody to say these things, but also to just kind of be more active and to be like a face of the community.
Exactly. So when it comes to goodwill towards the game and people's ability to trust in the process and what's going to happen, there's an enormous trust in people like Yoshi and in Soken, but very little trust in a company like Square Enix. Because we look at the corporation, we look at the company, and we're like, their main focus is just to make money. Period. We don't share any sort of emotional attachment to a corporation. We don't have any inherent trust in the corporation. We may really enjoy some of their IP, but they have very little innate trust from the community. Whereas people have been with this game so religiously over the past 12 years because of people like Yoshi P, who have become kind of that face and kind of walking us through it all. And anytime we had questions, anytime we had concerns, they had answers. And taking that away, I think, has been a huge part of why Dawn Trail feels kind of as bad as it does, I think. not just because there was issues with it and there's been a lot of glitches and a lot of problems and a lot of bugs and fixes, but because we haven't been hearing anything from their end about why it's happening or when it's going to stop, right?
Yeah, it definitely feels like it's for like months ago when Dawn Trail first kind of came out, and I know that like Final Fantasy 16 was like wrapped up and all these things. It kind of felt like, okay, well, yeah, of course, like Yoshi P needs a break. He's been busting his hump. Like, yeah, we'll get, give it a few months into Dawn Trail. We'll get a little bit more of that. Like, that's kind of how even I thought was gonna happen. Like, okay, Yoshi needs like 3 months to sleep, take hibernation, and then like we'll hear from him again. It'll be like more regular again. And it's kind of like, okay, we're waiting for some of that kind of like comfort, I guess, again, that like that feeling of not like this warmth and cozy and like, but and I know that they're still doing things, like they're still doing Duty Commenced, an Unending Journey, like live streams of like community team, but it's not the same. Like, I'm glad that they do those things, and I think that they're definitely positive spaces and outlets for the community, but it's just, I don't know. What do you think? Like, to me, it's just not the same type of comfort.
Well, yeah, they're more publicity events than anything. Whereas back in the day, where Yoshi just used to log on randomly to the game and you can go talk to him in Limsa or something, that was completely different. And I think that's what the game is really missing right now, because there is a difference. I think maybe I'm inherently optimistic, but I feel there is a difference between what people are willing to say in a Reddit forum and what people are willing to say to Yoshi to his face.
Oh,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
So if they're getting most of their information from forums, then they're not hearing from the people who actually respectfully enjoy the game and want to see it change. I get that's a vague generalization. Sometimes, comments can be very insightful, but for the most part, they're getting very different information now than they used to with regard to the fans and what they're wanting out of the game. People become a little unhinged. Yeah. It is. It's very true, especially where it seems like people kind of feed off of one another. And it kind of, the line just gets edged a little bit further away from sane with every person who posts, It's like, it starts as a very good point, but the more people push it to the extreme, the farther away it gets from reality. And it feels sometimes like some of the changes they've made to the game recently are from comments, because it feels like we discussed this before. Like they got the feedback in Endwalker that there wasn't enough going on in the game, and now suddenly everything is coming out at a rate where you can't really sit down and consume it slowly over the course of a few months. It's like, hurry up and get this done, because there's this coming out next patch, and then this and this and this coming out next patch. And it seems there's a lot going on, but it doesn't have the staying power or substance that we used to see.
Right.
Even, I think we mentioned it already, Occult Crescent doesn't seem to hit the same way as a Boja or a Eureka, because it's too easy to advance. It's too easy to get to level 20 knowledge. It's too easy to get coins. It's too easy to accomplish everything you want. So people are kind of at a point where they're done Occult Crescent, whereas it would have taken them 3 times as long to accomplish the same thing in a previous exploration zone.
Yeah, and that's kind of the concern that I'm getting with that too, is like, and I see it as, I always try to objectively look at like putting myself in the other person's shoes, or in this instance, like the company's shoes. I'm also like somebody who's been like, I've worked in business for like a decade now, and like I've been a person behind the scenes and looking at things. And so like in one hand, I understand like trying to listen to the comments and trying to like really dissect like what forums are saying or Reddit's saying, and like to an extent too, if everybody made business decisions based on what random people on the internet are commenting without further research or context, chaos, complete chaos. There's so many people that the moment they get in those platforms, it's pure keyboard warrior and rationale of criticism. Like we've talked about in the podcast before, rationale of criticism becomes just hate and fueled bitter feelings and whatever, like just crazy talk. And kind of right now it feels like they're being a little too reactionary instead of like proactive, like way too reactive instead of proactive. And kind of like you said, like, you know, we're getting all this content, but then it's like it's not being something that's like more evergreen or more like can live a while. It's like you almost start questioning judgment of like, okay, well, Yoshi P's not here to answer these questions or to kind of give rationale. Is anybody like checking this? Is anybody like testing these new things before they come out? Like, especially with the you mentioned with the article, the increased bugs. We've seen it. The amount of hot fixes to like fix so many of these issues. It's like, is there somebody at the helm right now? And without hearing from Yoshi P himself, like or at least somebody to kind of answer some of those questions. It's like, is there a captain of the ship at the moment? Or are we on autopilot? And just, it's like a Tesla that's like running into like things on the street. Like, just like we're putting the car on self-pilot mode, but then it's still hitting things. Like, I don't know.
Someone's going to be in Occult Crescent for years. What is... Oh, for the treasure achievements. Yeah, okay. There's some grindy achievements in there, that's for sure. But they made a statement, Square Enix publicly about, well, I think it was Yoshi actually, publicly about how easy the game has become back in March. Whereas it's kind of, they've lost the challenge in a lot of cases. And what I mean is there's difficult content, but a lot of things are too easy to complete, I think.
Right.
Or you can do it too quickly. I know we've kind of been on the other side of that argument before, and we've talked about like the diehard tryhards that play an excessive amount of time a week and stream and get everything done right away on launch. But there's another side to that where there are regular players who are still getting the same accomplishments a week or a month later, that this content could have lasted a bit longer if it was tweaked a little differently. Or it feels like it was more difficult back in the day, but now has been made much easier.
Yeah, another criticism that I think I've seen more and more recently that I totally love your opinion on as well is like how overly scripted everything has started feeling. Like, I know in certain YouTube videos of mine and like kind of talking in the community, that is one of the pieces of criticism I've heard most, is that, you know, this may be like, you know, even like Occult Crescent or maybe some of the new raids or something that's coming out. Sometimes it feels like we know what's coming. Like, even though we haven't seen it, even though it's not a new thing, it's very like formulaic. Like, we know X plus Y equals Z. You know what I mean?
What I think it is, and it kind of, I wanted to cover it in this bracket along with job homogenization, is it feels like we've been in a holding pattern since Endwalker and now Dawn Trail, where they knew they weren't going to get the money or the support or the Yoshi that they needed to really innovate and deliver what they wanted to. So they've fallen back into hey guys, just do this, but off color it and people will enjoy it. And so it feels like the entire game has been kind of just reskinned every expansion or every patch to deliver the same content slightly differently, off-colored, maybe different location like the variant dungeons or that sort of thing, just to provide content in a situation where they don't have the funds or the manpower to really do anything different. And people have been complaining about this for a while, but at this state where even Square Enix is acknowledging it and Yoshi acknowledging it in the live letter saying that they didn't have the money to do another difficulty of the Fork Tower, you realize that there is something else going on here. And this homogenization, this repeat, this kind of side scrolling, if you will, of content is because they can't do anything different right now. I'm sure they want to. I'm sure they want to real bad,
Sure.
but they can't for whatever reason. And that's what's being promised in 8.0. So the other question is, how much of what we're asking for do you think can feasibly be delivered by 8.0, considering we're about halfway through Dawn Trail, about a year out? Are we going to be expecting too much?
I think it's going to be expecting too much, and also I fear a little bit that for the promise of for the context of keeping a promise and like pushing out more, we're getting less in quality potentially. It's kind of the same thing we talked about how back to back the Cosmic Exploration and the Occult Crescent were, and it felt so rushed. And it's I will always be of the mindset, and I know my opinion is not everybody's opinion. I'm always of the opinion of I would rather you being Squeenix saying hey, we can't deliver that much, but what we can deliver is this and this, 2 out of 3 things, and it is top tier. We stand by it. It is it has everything we wanted into it, versus hey, we're gonna put a bunch of stuff out, some of it's not done, but here's a bunch of stuff that. Just for a game that's been around for well over a decade now, it to me it feels like I don't need more things. I need good, a decent amount of good quality things.
Yeah, you're right. It kind of feels like an over direction. If you want to turn a really big ship, you crank the wheel, but it's never going to turn right away. And then 20 seconds later, suddenly you're full reverse because you've turned too far. You didn't give it time to, correct its course. And that kind of is how the game feels. There's so much momentum that by the time we see any change in the direction we want, it already feels like whoa, too far.
Right.
We're going too fast, and this change is not working. I don't know. I had another point there, but what do you think?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think in one, I'm always going to try to play devil's advocate. So, in one hand, I get it, a production that large, it is so hard to, have something fail to then pivot. It is not easy. I do not envy them in any bit to try to, fix, try to fix something that's broken. Especially if that means halting and pausing everything else to do so. But I always look back to the content that's been added with a clear expiration date, or maybe an unclear expiration date. We've talked about it multiple times. Content like the Island Sanctuary, content like what Grand Companies promised us many years ago with extra ranks, like all these like pieces that were put in the game to kind of end up rotting. And it's like, I wonder, I think people are gonna kind of get old of this like process of just like, we make a bunch of stuff and then we just let it die, and we make something else and then we just let it die. And it's like, I just wonder if like, and what my hope was for a bit of Dawn Trail was like, let's slow down a little bit, let's fix some of the things and concrete some of the things we have and then make new things. And I think right now it's felt a little bit more like, hey, let's make a lot of new things and see what sticks. And it's some for better, some for worse.
So here's the other part of the argument, and that is the argument that an MMO will only be successful long term if it's attracting new players. And Final Fantasy XIV is in a situation right now where it's not attracting new players, or at least not to the degree it should. And there was this expectation of 7.0 when they did the graphics overhaul that they were going to focus a little bit more on that new player experience, bringing it up to the modern day, like making it something that people want to play now. And I was very adamant before Dawn Trail even launched that this had to be the expansion where they were working on the new game, where they were working on creating a new player and having them be able to get into the action sooner, having them be able to skip the MSQ without paying for it, being able to get them into the game and playing with other people and doing the things they want to do without the lock of the MSQ. And it didn't happen. And so now we're at a situation where I personally feel, and you can share your opinion, I personally feel that if they don't address the new player experience by 8.0, it's too late. That we're suddenly in an MMO that is going to be catering to the existing players until we move on to the next. And to me, that kind of signals defeat. If they're not willing to overhaul the game and make it more accessible to new players, then it's kind of like a geriatric community, right? I don't know. Do you feel the same, or?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wear rose-tinted glasses with this because I desperately hope that's not the case, but I do see a world where that's happening. And I'm gonna beat a dead horse, but it's like that's kind of leads to my argument back of just letting content die. I mean, I'm gonna continue to beat the dead horse. When's the last time you went to New Gridania and done Fates? How many years ago? Years. If I'm a new player and I'm like, hey, what's a Fate? And no one's there, I'm not gonna want to do it. I'm not gonna be excited to be in these, unless you're in Limsa, which is just sometimes terrifying, especially to a new person, depending on what map you're on or what server you're on. It's like all these old zones and pieces of content are dead. It's just try queuing up as a DPS, like especially a new player. You're like, oh boy, I want to try Lancer and try to get into a queue, and with DPS, it's a nightmare. I mean, and if you don't understand, like, oh yeah, it's just queue on a healer. Like, a new player's not going to do that. That's not going to be the vibe. And so, like, I do agree where I think they really need to look at retooling the game as a whole so that people can do things with other people. And I mean, I'm glad to see that they've done all this work with, like, trust systems and duties. But I think a big portion, personally, of playing an MMO is playing with people. That's kind of the reason to play an MMO, is because you will be playing with a bunch of other people. And I know that that's just my opinion alone, but it's like, if I wanted to play just by myself, I'd go play a single player game. I wouldn't be playing an MMO. And so it's, I do agree where I think they need to kick something in the gear or really get 8.0 at the latest, like, on point for that, or it proves a little dark for the future.
A little bit. And I mean, I want to make perfectly clear that I enjoy playing 14. I have for a very long time. I am looking forward to the future. But I feel bad when I go to tell people in real life, hey, I make content for and am really enjoy playing this MMO. You like Final Fantasy games. Why don't you give this game a try? And every single person without fail is like, yeah, no, I don't have the time. I don't have the time. I not only don't have the time for an MMO, but I don't have the time for an MMO that, you know, I have to do so much MSQ for and that sort of thing. So I know they have the free trial, but they need to find some other way, I think, to make it more accessible. And I think that can tie in to what you're saying with all this extinct content, the stuff that they never came back to, the Grand Company ranks, the early zones. If they took 8.0 and really remade the game, especially in the wake of the mobile game, they're just like, hey, we need to take this expansion to really focus on the new player. But not only that, but it could make it more alt-friendly. It could provide additional ways to share achievements between your characters and your alts, so that more players would start an alt character and join the new characters that are in the game doing the early content. They could really revive the game, and that would be more indicative to the longevity of the game to me than a lot of the innovation and stuff that they would promise.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think there's even room to incorporate innovation back into the older things. I mean, even look at how fates work in content like the Occult Crescent, you know, like in like the level syncing and all that kind of stuff. Like, make a system for that. And I know it's not as easy as just do the thing. Clearly that takes no time, right? But like, you know, make it so that it's profitable for folks in endgame content to go back. Like, give these people reasons. And I'm with you there. Like, I'm glad you said it too. Like, I'm in love with this game, and I will be subscribed until the day it disintegrates. I'm totally here for 10, 20, whatever many years. So much of my life revolves around this game, and I think once in a while it is, you know, I think we do say a lot of tons of positive things about this game, and we're both advocates, and sometimes it's good to just be like, okay, these are the problems we're seeing in our community, regardless of how much we love it. You know, this game needs to exist for everyone in order for it to continue to be around so that we can continue to love it.
Now, Christopher says if they change the game to cater to people who don't have time for the MSQ, then doesn't that mean they would remove what makes 14 special? And I argue no. Because the soul would still exist. Making the game more welcoming to people who aren't particularly invested in that one aspect, I don't think takes away that portion of the game for everyone else. If they make it skippable, if they make a way to enter the game at Dawn Trail instead of entering the game at A Realm Reborn, I don't think that takes any of that away. I think it's just a barrier to entry. And if they do the game well, like all those people who joined the game during Shadowbringers, like think about that. The WoW Exodus during Shadowbringers, the game was so good that most people who started then went back and did either New Game Plus or started a new character because they became so invested in the story after that point that they wanted to experience it. And that's what makes the game special. What makes the game special isn't that they're forcing it down your throat, that they can tell such a compelling story that you want to go back and hear it. So that's just me, maybe on a soapbox, but that's my feeling on that. WoW lets you do that. So the the thing is, like, WoW and Final Fantasy XIV used to be direct competitors in a market where they were the two big MMOs. They were direct competition. WoW and Final Fantasy XIV are completely different with regards to story, with regard to character design, with regard to world design. They are two completely different beasts. So it catered to two different kind of players. But now we're talking about a gaming scape where there are a lot of other options. There are a lot of other options. I have been playing a lot of different games lately. Pyra, have you been playing a lot of different games lately?
Yeah, no, I've definitely been playing a lot of different games, and none of them like 14, I will say. I've definitely been playing other things to kind of break from what, like, it's tough for me because as a primary, not the primary driver for playing Final Fantasy XIV, but a huge reason why I continue to be in love with the game is community. That's why I got into content creation. That's why I got into streaming. That's why I have an FC and, you know, like, have my group of friends. Community is it for me, and my community has found issues with this expansion, and so by them kind of gravitating towards other things, I find myself also following suit some days because of the fact that, like, community is the core part of my experience. For me personally, like, I even see a comment about you know, MSQ like kind of like being the, like, a connector of experience for everybody in the game. Like, I do definitely agree with that, because, like, for me, like, the story itself, and I'm not just talking about, like, every nugget and granule of the story, like, in pure detail, but, like, the story and the vibe are what make this game so special to me. And then community is the other part of that. So I would say, like, the story, the vibe, the worlds, that's like a good 60 to 75%. But then that, like, 40-ish% is, like, community and people and, like, that portion of it.
No, that's true. I mean, some of the things that I am looking forward to the most in 7.3 are the group content I know I'll be doing with other people.
Yeah.
And that's the heart of the game. But I still feel that the game is in danger if it doesn't find a way to open itself up to more people. That might just be me, and I've said this for the last few years. This isn't a new thing by any means. This is just a Debbie thing. Plus, I mean, if you're enjoying something, you want to share it. You want to share it. Absolutely. And it was different back years ago. Especially even going into Shadowbringers, like, hey, get into Final Fantasy XIV. You know what? It's a bit of a slog for a bit, but once you get there, you won't regret it. Now it's just become even more so. And now once people get through Shadowbringers and Endwalker, then they have to go through Dawn Trail, which people have very different opinions on. And it's kind of like another little hump. I don't know. Am I just being too pessimistic at this point in time?
No, I don't think you're being too pessimistic. Like, for me, I think there's no black and white answer. Truthfully, I think that there's, you know, like, as far as, like, even if we were to, like, have a system where people could just start at Dawn Trail, no MSQ, like, you know, no MSQ or, like, no questions asked, I don't think that that's going to solve the overarching problems. I think no matter what we do, I'm sorry to be, like, super distracted from something going on over here. I think no matter what we do, it's never going to be a black and white answer. And so I think it's just, this is another situation where I hope that their take to kind of, like, the state of the game right now is not to not to be reactive and just to try to implement a system right away or to do something knee-jerk reaction, but it's just to really think about the new player experience and the current player experience, and like how to weave those two. It's never going to be seamless, but like how can they be more integrated together in a system that like keeps everybody as happy as possible. It's never going to be perfect, but I think just doing one thing, I think, is a band-aid move. I don't think it's a long-term plan that'll be effective. Even if people can skip the MSQ, you know, or like not even just the MSQ, but like even when they started doing level skips, then you hear people who are more seasoned at the game being like, oh, look at this guy. Clearly he got a level skip because he doesn't know how to do mechanics. Like, someone's going to be mad. Someone is going to be frustrated, mad. And so it's like, I think it's just, instead of doing a band-aid fix, trying to think about ways and systems to kind of integrate instead of just fast track one to catch up to the other kind of thing, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. So, moral of the story is, you're right. No matter what happens, someone's going to complain.
Absolutely.
There's not going to be...
Yeah. To an extent, there's nothing you could do about it.
There's nothing you can do about that. There's nothing you can do about that. The people who have enjoyed the game, who have invested so much in the game, who have a great deal of faith built up in the team, in Yoshi, in the story, in everything, they're still going to be willing to give the game a chance. I mean, myself included. And I just hope that whatever is going on over in Squeenix, they can free up Yoshi and either make 14 better, or, I know I've said this before, find a way to turn 14 into a new game somehow. Have you heard my crazy tin hat theory on this? My crazy tin hat theory. Come on. They need to find a way. They need to find a way to take our character data and achievements and everything, save it, and create a brand new game and transcribe all of that information into the new game. Then they don't have to complain about spaghetti code anymore.
So are you suggesting like everything in the game as we know it, just less spaghetti?
No, like brand new from the floor up. The only thing that gets imported from 14 is the character data.
We're taking the tinfoil away, Debbie.
Okay, maybe a little much.
I mean, like, it's tough. This is where I'm just a nostalgic boomer. It's tough because I love this game so much. And it's like, I want to go down swinging. And I love the idea more that we can fix this before making a new. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's a Meath problem. Like, I know that's like probably like I'm on a soapbox on an island somewhere. I don't know. Like, I'd have to see it to believe it, but like, to lose what I have now. Well,
that's kind of it, right? Like, we know 11 eventually had to give over to 14. True. But so many 11 players could not leave 11 for that very same reason.
Yep.
That they still have paid service of that game today, over 20 years later.
Right.
So, I'm not saying that 14 is going anywhere anytime soon. Yoshi P has determined this as well. We've got at least another 9 to 12 years in this game.
Right.
For better or worse. But what I'm saying is they can't carry on for another 9 to 12 years with, like, destroying Yoshi P, blaming everything on the spaghetti code, and ignoring the parts of the game that we fell in love with. So,
absolutely agreed. And if nothing else too, like, I think because of how, like, kind of this whole conversation stemming from the article and like how much Yoshi's been kind of drained and gone, like, you know, people notice that. Like, all of us know him as a public figure on top of just being the producer, which not just, but and like we're missing that. It's kind of like we're just waiting on Dad to come home with a gallon of milk. He's not home yet. It's been several months. Where are you?
See, that's Toy Christopher. That's why I have this crazy theory, because it is hard to let go of your character, especially when you put over a decade into it. There is so much there, like my achievements, my titles, like everything I've done for a sense of achievement in my life in this game is tied to that character, and it's hard to let go. But I did eventually leave 11, and I did move over to 14, and there's also the thrill of a new adventure. The thrill of the unknown, the building yourself up from nothing feeling. I just wish they could like marry the two together,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, time will tell, but I think they gotta do some big things and not rush them. And in the words of Ron Swanson, do not half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing.
There you go. So do you have any concluding statements or anything we didn't mention that you wanted to?
I think I've mentioned a lot, said my piece. I will say I love this game so much, and also Yoshi P, please come home. Please come home. We miss you. We're gonna start putting your face on the milk cartons. Yeah. What about you, Tiffany?
Final Fantasy 25? Yeah. For me, yeah. No, that's exactly it. I think they've finally said there's a problem. And I think they know what the solution is. And as much as Square Enix needs Yoshi for these other endeavors, and don't get me wrong, everything else he's done has been successful. He knows what he's doing, but he needs to come back to 14 if they're going to rely on 14 as heavily as they apparently do. Because it needs him. It needs him, or it needs someone with his experience and authority to really take the helm and to reassure us that we're being heard and that things are going to get better like he promises. Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts? I know we've been talking a bit about the comments, but if you have anything you want to discuss, comment below, and I'll be looking at those comments. I know it's a bit of a weird topic, and I was kind of like, I really don't like critical things,
Right.
But it is a hot topic. Everyone in the community is talking about it. You can't go on a social without hearing people discussing this, and it kind of needs to be addressed. And one day we'll be laughing about it. You know what I saw this week on YouTube? I saw an old Rabtoons episode about Stormblood. Do you know Rabtoons? It's the
maybe sounds familiar, but
it's a Final Fantasy XIV parody YouTube channel that has little like sarcastic, like, I don't know, almost South Park characters, and they recreate the MSQ, and they're really sarcastic about it, and they kind of break the fourth wall and stuff. Yeah. I was watching one for Stormblood and post Stormblood, and all the like plot holes and everything they were pointing out, and how bad the MSQ was, and how much they hated Lise, and it was all done really timely. But I'm like, one day in the future, we're going to be getting a Rabtoons for Dawn Trail, and we're going to be like, yeah, absolutely, I was there, and it was hilarious.
Absolutely, I'm confident that we'll get to that point. Like they've pulled it from nothing more than once, but it's definitely one of those slumps that we can't wait till we get back up from.
Yeah. In the meantime, we're gonna hold out hope for announcement of a Moogle event. FanFest should be announced real soon.
They want money. Take my money.
The next live letter is coming up, all on the way. We're a month out from 7.3, which is just going to be fun. It's just going to be fun. So I hope to see everyone there. Thank you so much for joining me today, Pyra.
Thank you, Debbie.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us on YouTube. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for joining us. We are back next week with hopefully some more Final Fantasy XIV news and definitely a bit more of a positive spin on the game that we love. So look forward to joining us then. Same time, same channel. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care. Love yourself as much as you love others, and we'll see you in game. Bye.